Hey y'all, my name is Paul and let's have a conversation. Today I have a few minutes before work. I'm kind of near a municipal airport, so there's going to be background noise, I'm sure. But believe me, it's much quieter here than it is at home, where I usually film. Anyway, there was a couple things I wanted to talk about today that I didn't have an opportunity to film at home. One was, if you watch, and I hope you do, because I enjoy this, but anyway, I was watching a flat earther video, and I challenged myself to try to counter every point that they had, or some points, with repeatable experiments that I could do without regurgitating the information that I may have been brainwashed with by the establishment. And I was having a hard time doing that. In fact, I wasn't able to do that. Anytime the word mass popped up in my brain, dismiss it. Anytime accretion popped up in my brain, dismissed it. Gravity, same thing. I mean, anything I learned in science, pushed it aside. That made it quite challenging. So then I had to change the parameter of my challenge, because I don't want to say it shook my belief structure, but it definitely made me question things. And so anyway, I finally got it. I was going at this the wrong way. Instead of trying to prove them wrong outright, point by point, I mean, I'm not a mathematician. I hold no PhDs in anything, so I'm not going to beat them on the academic level. But I think I'm fairly good with common sense and basic, rudimentary logic. I excel at rudimentary. So I was thinking, okay, what I've seen most, and most flat earthers I think have adopted this circular, we'll call it a pie or a plate. In fact, if you've seen the NATO symbol, it's the Earth looking at it down from above the North Pole. And I rationalize that as being not them thumbing their nose in our face like that. I don't think that's the case at all. I don't think it's hiding in plain sight. Okay, first off, if you are running a secret organization that does bad things to people. Now, okay, granted hubris is a weakness in humanity, and I can see how pride has gotten the worst of many evildoers in the world. Serial killers beg to be caught, right? They want the attention, the limelight. But I think if you were the head of a nefarious secret organization, the last thing you would want to do is drop clues. No. Because the comeuppance, if it does get out and people are able to trace it back to you, the retribution for all of past crimes or grievances or whatever, quite literally, I think, hell to pay. You would want to avoid that. So you would distract. That's my alarm, R2 freaking out. But you wouldn't drop little clues. You would want to keep your secret organization a secret so that you could keep perpetuating what I would call evil, but in their minds I would think it's just them looking out for them. At any rate, I don't think that they would do that. But flat earthers have adopted the NATO symbol, looking down, and the reason being that I think they chose that is because they pretty much get, 7/8 of the world's population in that one picture, and then they added Australia and New Zealand off to the side, Northern Hemisphere, and then Australia. And flat earthers just widen that out, and halfway down is the equator, and then the South Pole is the ice wall around it, right? So much of that seems wrong to me. If the sun moves around on the inner circle, providing us daylight, and the moon is going around its thing, how does it do seasons? what causes the sun to move? I mean, it's not on a track. It would have to orbit something. Well, in my mind, it would have to orbit something. So it raises more questions than answers. But I finally, after days, it's embarrassing how long it actually took me to figure this out for me. I finally found a repeatable experiment anybody can do that, in my opinion, shatters that model. Go to a live cam, or if you know somebody in North America with a video camera and time-lapse, have them pointed at the night sky and watch the rotation of the constellations. And then have somebody in the southern hemisphere do the same. One is going to rotate clockwise, the other one is going to rotate counterclockwise. That, in my opinion, is proof positive the world is not flat. It is a simple, repeatable experiment anybody can do, and it doesn't regurgitate brainwashing by the establishment. Simple as that. Now, I can't go through and explain how come a boat disappears off the horizon, hull first, from eye, and then as soon as you whip out a telescope or binoculars, it pops back up into frame. I don't understand how a curvature only works sometimes. There's things like that I don't get. I mean, the airplane one, that's my favorite. If an airplane just lets go and keeps going straight, they actually leave the Earth. How can that be true? Well, there's a thing called gravity. Again, I couldn't use that because of regurgitation, right? But gravity would keep it around, and to leave, they would actually have to pull back on the stick to have it go away. If they just have it leveled off because of gravity, it's just going to keep going around. Believe me, I know the world is not flat. But I challenged myself to come up with a way that anybody could look this up and try it themselves and see for themselves and have to rework their own mental model and come up with another description as to how, if the world is flat, how do the constellations work? I mean, explain to me how the northern hemisphere, the stars could do this, and then on the outer ring, they go the opposite way. That doesn't make sense to me. And actually, I kind of want to find a flat earther that is intelligent and patient and considerate, because I detest name calling. But I would like to have a respectful conversation with somebody to get feedback on that. I want to hear their explanation. But anyway, I was just proud of myself that I was finally able to crack that shell, so to speak. That was a proud Paul moment. But anyway, that's only part of this conversation. I am doing this off of laptops, or not laptops, tablets, so bear with me. I know there's glare in here when I show you this, but I also saw something on Secure Team last night. It was a prior video. And on Google Mars, you see that? That was a base clearly photoshopped onto Google Mars. And they were like, why would they do that? You know, at first it was big news. Wow, proof positive that a base was found on Mars. And then Google came out and said, no, it was an April Fool's joke. And they're all thinking that it was cruel. Even Tyler said that he thought it was a cruel joke, and they can't think of why anybody would do that. Sometimes it makes me hurt thinking how other people think. This is my take on it. I don't know any more than anyone else, and I say this so much, you've got to know it's true by now. I don't know more than anybody else. Hold on, I have to pause it real quick. I'm back, sorry. Had to chit-chat with a coworker real quick. I look kind of weird just sitting out here in my van talking to myself. They're all used to seeing me talk to myself. I do that a lot. But, anyway. Okay, so here you are on Mars. Now, on Earth, when you see blurred out stuff, you can chalk it up to a military installation or something that compromises national security, or even just wishing to not intrude on somebody's privacy. I mean, you can pay Google to have your house blurred out on Street View for crying out loud. So it's not that big of an issue. On another planet, however, it becomes much harder to explain away pixelations or blurred out. And since they even said so themselves that they update this thing daily, it's updating, higher res, better quality. It's just, how can you explain away pixelations or Photoshop if something in particular you wanted to hide? I personally would like to see what that image looked like before it had a Photoshop base put on it. Because what better way to hide something than to put something over it that is completely, just doesn't belong, and then call it an April Fool's joke, and then leave it up. I think it was kind of ingenious. Of course, I think I'm onto something here. I think that's what's going on, because that's me. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily narcissistic, but to me, it is the most likely of any option. Because if it was an April Fool's joke, not that many people use Google Mars, so not that many people are going to get the joke. And the fact that you would have to come out and say it's an April Fool's joke 3 months later, it seems fishy. Not exactly hiding in plain sight, but I think it was quite a clever way to hide something you don't want the public to see, and nobody's going to question it because it's clearly photoshopped, and it was addressed by them saying, haha, April Fools. Now, maybe this gives them time to doctor up a real image of that space with the base removed that doesn't give anything away. Again, I don't know more than anybody else, but when I saw the video, I actually yelled at my tablet quietly. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. But I was like, you don't get it. It's not a cruel joke. They're hiding something. I mean, heck, even now on Earth, when the government wants to hide something, they put it in a base. In this case, they put it under a base. I don't know. I could be wrong. And I probably am. But I don't know. I like my overactive imagination. I have also come up with a pretty good story idea regarding the firmament and the flat earth and how that's all true, and Project Bluebeam is just humanity's job now of projecting a false sky to keep us quelled, so that we don't try to, humans don't do well in captivity, so that we remain productive instead of trying to go to the wall and break through for freedom, not knowing what's on the outside or what the wall's protecting us from. It's kind of a good idea, and I can see how the major governments of the world would all pitch in and pay for this, because it would keep their citizens productive and fund all of their projects. I don't know. I also don't want to get into religion. That's kind of a touchy subject with me. Not necessarily in a bad way, just... Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. This video is already almost 14 minutes long. Yeah, it's getting to be 14 minutes long. And a lot of it's just me babbling. So, I'm going to end it here and get ready for work. It's a Friday night. I work in the hospitality industry, so typically the weekends are pretty darn busy. Anyway, thank you for putting up with me. As always, keep your eyes on the skies, but your feet on the ground.